Remember to like, subscribe, and share.
Everyone thinks that they making like the business slower. No one wants to listen to them. It's such a complicated job. Like it's so hard to be a good researcher.
So yeah, Lena, it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to have you here on the podcast. You're someone I've been following for a while on LinkedIn, and yeah, it's just awesome to have you here.
Thank you so much, Dale. Excited to be here as well, answer all the questions.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to asking the questions. No, it's really cool to have you here. So, I already introduced to the audience your name, who you are, let's say your title, but I'm sure they're interested into knowing a bit more about you, how you ended up doing what you do, which is a design recruit, and especially, I suppose we'll get into it later, but especially how you've become this voice of recruitment in the design, UX, research, design industry.
Yeah, for sure. I don't have a real title. I came up with this title myself, basically, but in the nutshell, at the moment, I am trying to enable both companies and talent to succeed as they grow in and looking for a new job. Because
Okay.
obviously, there's a lot of issues with
Mm,
how companies are hiring and bringing the talent on board, how candidates are applying and looking for jobs. And so a couple of years ago, I saw like a great opportunity to start educating
mm-hmm.
more publicly the
Okay.
talent. And that kind of brought me into my current business. So I'm working with the companies and really teaching companies how they could hire through community because I feel like design and user research are so
Mm,
community led. And this
yeah.
cold hiring is not really what's working well. And
Mm,
I found that relationships are so important. But at the same time, I come back to candidates and especially my passion is to really kind of, make a lot of impact on people who feel a little bit low in this
mm,
whole kind of situation of the layoffs and like, tough
yeah.
market and really bring all the knowledge that I have
Mm,
and make very impactful and quick wins. And it's been
mm.
really successful. So that's basically the job that I've created for myself. And as you said, I did spend some time in the UX field myself. It was
Mhm.
absolutely amazing. I did the HR role, never again, but I was very interested as well to see like, what happens after
Yeah.
I bring the talent on board. And mostly I've been in recruitment and really this like community building. So that's basically
Mm.
where I come from.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's nice to see that you're driven by that passion to help people. As you mentioned, people are low, and I'm going through it myself, so I can really resonate with that. That it is hard when you are looking for your next role, and there's all these layoffs and negativity, and it's nice to see you as a recruiter that that's what drives you. That you see that and you hear that and you want to support those people. So that's really awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And I'm interested because you mentioned before that you did work in UX, from what I remember, UX research. Um, how did you make that transition? Why did you transition from working in UX to then moving into recruitment?
Yeah. Many people ask me this question, and I feel everyone is waiting to hear this perfect story of Lena, the recruiter, like identifying the opportunity
Mm,
and then like interviewing so well and getting it. But I'm also human and things just happen. I think there were two faults. One is my curiosity, and like I really wanted to be a designer researcher to an extent because I was
okay.
just so passionate. Look, I love design. I love research. I love my job. I love talking to people from the field. Like I'm just enjoying it so much, and I
Mm,
find everyone from design background it's a different type of people. There's so
yeah.
much like so many inspiring things about these people, like so many things that they do and create. They're very crafty, and I just really wanted to be a part of that, of that kind of circle. So curiosity was definitely a big driver. The second driver was actually really lack of any growth opportunities on the recruitment side of things because
Okay.
when companies start firing people, let's put it this way, it's not necessarily that recruiters keep on getting promoted and getting more responsibilities. And I
Mm,
felt that I learned how to be an excellent recruiter, how to build connections and relationships, how to influence my stakeholders regardless of the level of seniority, because I was working like at the end with like founders and C-level stakeholders. I learned how to close very complicated roles and how to
Mm,
close the talent and to make sure that like it's balanced between like what they wanted and what we can offer. But
mm,
there was nothing else for me to do. And so just the opportunity presented itself. I must tell you, I was very proactive because I was working with the head of research and
okay.
they let me know that the opportunity was there. Not to lie, Dalia, the head of research, like back in the days at Miro, she was poking me and trying to see whether or not I would like to be a part of the team. And it's hard not to be like not to want to be a part of the team that you
Mm,
have built. It's such a
sure.
privilege to shape teams and shape the cultures. And
Mm,
so of course that wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to say no to. I just felt that there is so much for me in recruitment. And when it was very clear that there is not so much for me in recruitment, and then this role presented itself, and Dali was so open to invest in me and onboard me and
mm,
take me, there was a certain risk for the team as well.
mm,
Yeah, I just jumped and transition itself, I thought it was one of the experiences that really shaped who I am right now as
mm,
this job search advisor, because I feel like without going through the challenges of getting into the new role, learning things again, because I spent 2.5 years in Miro. Of course, I was very comfortable. And like when people would say, I want to get a new job, for me, it was like so far away, like, getting into the new job. And that
mm.
was like, I was getting into the new job. I was very junior again, like had no idea. People were like literally, my manager Josh was so supportive. He was like literally helping me like craft Slack messages because sometimes I didn't even know what I was trying to say. So, but at the same time, there were lots of amazing transferable skills that I brought, into the role. And that also allowed me understand research and design so much better. I must
Mm,
tell you that it made me a better recruiter and just
yeah,
a better human being in the current situation of the market. So,
yeah.
yeah, that was like a small story of my transition.
That's cool. That's cool. And as well, it's nice to know that you, as a recruiter, or you know what it's like to transition because there are so many in the UX field that have transitioned or are transitioning from an adjacent career or even a career that's just completely unrelated. How has that helped you in maybe sympathizing with your clients or the people that you're helping to find a role or to set up their careers?
Yeah, I think it was just a big influence of the mindset, because when
Mm,
you do something for so many years and you get really good, sometimes it's hard to understand like how come people don't get it, being like, oh, come on, it's so simple, why don't you get it? And when you start something from scratch, I think just this level of self-awareness, but also awareness of others and like your capability of like reflecting and like emphasizing, as you said as well, with others, that's just something that is priceless. And so
mm,
what I've noticed a lot with my Maven course, for example, that many
mm,
career changers would come in and really could identify with me. They would be like, oh, I also saw that you spent like 6 years in recruitment and now moved into research. Like that's
mm.
exactly what I'm going through.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so cool because I could totally understand what were the moments where they didn't feel confident or where were the struggles. Or maybe I was also so lucky just to be a part of Miro research team. Let's put it
Mm.
this way. It's like not the last it's like an amazing team, I'm so proud
Yeah.
having, the opportunity to build it. And like those folks
Mm,
are the smartest people that I have ever encountered in my life. And so of course, being surrounded by those people, like I could grow and like learn so quickly that,
mm,
after a couple of months, I could run my own studies without any issues, and not
mm.
very simple studies, but like this like endless canvas, with millions of users studies. So I think
Mm,
I just could really understand like the fears and the challenges,
mm,
but also support them from the perspective of a person who just learned it, but also is succeeding. So there was
mm,
like a language that I was able to develop to talk
mm,
to those people and be on their like level and not talking from like top down, which
Sure.
I always trying to avoid when I'm working with clients. I don't necessarily believe that that's the vibe that anyone should be creating in this like client and provider relationships. And so that was like a very fruitful step for me to really not be I'm here and you all folks there and like I'm trying to
Mm,
help you, but like, hey, I've been there
sure.
and like let me teach you what helped
Mm,
me and let me teach you what I've seen that
yeah.
works for others.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you've lived it yourself as well, the advice that you give as well, well, just listening and looking at your posts that you post on LinkedIn, I know you're speaking from experience, which always helps you to absorb that advice and that information as well. Whereas if you're listening to someone who they've always done that job and they're giving you advice on transitioning, surely they do have the expertise to give you that advice. But if you know that person has done it themselves, it always helps you to, okay, they understand me, they know what I'm going through, and you can go along with that. So that's really interesting. I just wanted to deeper dive onto, so you worked in the recruitment team at Miro. Where did it come about to set up on your own? Was that something you always wanted to do? Because obviously now you've grown into this voice, especially in the UX and design industry, in recruitment, you become a voice, especially on LinkedIn. Was that always the goal? Is it something you always wanted to do, set up on your own, even if it wasn't recruitment, but just a life goal? How did that come about for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I even sometimes feel embarrassed to say, like, oh, actually, never even tried to become anyone like that. It just happened. It is true though. And this is why I don't teach anyone how to like do anything on LinkedIn,
Okay,
because for me, that was just like a very natural extension of
sure.
things that I did. I came like to write on LinkedIn actually in the time of personal frustration because that was COVID time.
Mm,
Once again, being a recruiter in COVID time was an excellent choice of career, when
yeah.
everyone was being laid off and yeah, the growth path. Because I wanted to make sure that I support others. Like I started to see those layoffs, and I think for me that was like a personal hit to an extent because I was working so hard to build teams. Back in the days, I was working at N26, and we were in like a true hyper growth. Like I've not seen any company to grow so quick, and honestly. It was exciting, it was tiring, it was very unhealthy. We were all on the brink of like being burned out for like a couple of years and like from the very beginning my first couple of years like I wasn't like every time I would take a holiday I would still work full time because we were
Wow.
obsessed about this idea of like building the best German startup and we did it was amazing like I still think that my N26 time was just so amazing and like I
Mhm.
learned everything about design there but at the same time, like afterwards, I started seeing everyone letting go people around, and it was
Mm,
just, yeah, it was tough. It was really hard. I
yeah.
think like I was also quite young. I never seen any changes like that on the
Mm,
market.
of course.
Um, and I didn't know how to impact people's lives because I was like,
Mm,
okay, I have so much knowledge. I feel that like I could help others. And so I went on LinkedIn and started with a couple of articles. And then I started to see that people resonated with it.
mm,
And some people would come back and be like, oh, I actually tried what you said. So, thank you so much.
mm,
And it just became like a natural habit. Like as I was observing things, I would write. And I didn't even pay attention to like followers or likes or anything like
mm,
that up until the point when I was already at Miro and I was invited to speak on the internal event about personal brand because I
mm,
made my profile like turned into creator profile. And then
mm.
the employer brand manager, she was like, do you know that you have 7,000 followers? And I was like, I actually don't. I didn't, not like I didn't care, but like that wasn't the point.
Yeah.
And so from there on, and she also asked me, like, share how you did that. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
okay, well, so there is no strategy basically. And then I go and I write what I feel. And that's
Yeah.
true. Most of the time, I try not to like write ahead or schedule. Maybe that's not the best advice that I would
Mm.
give anyone,
Yeah.
but that's why sometimes my posts feel so authentic and real,
Yeah.
because that's exactly the feeling that I'm experiencing right now. And I
Mm,
feel it's so important for me to like transform this feeling into the post and really like make my
mm,
message very bold and, clear to everyone. And so,
mm.
yeah, that's how it started. I think I started to pay attention properly like a year ago. And
Okay.
from there onwards, it just took off. Like people started inviting me to speak. I've been
Mm.
recording this amazing, like, podcast with the folks like yourself. And thank you so much again for having me. Every time I feel so humble to
Mm.
be able to share what I know and talk about myself. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like famous. So cool.
You are, you are.
But
Okay.
it started
Mm,
it continues to have only one point. Like I really want to change how recruitment works. I think it's
mm,
so old school, it's so broken. It just like, the it always reminds me of this like old boys club, like pushing them and give them like this kind of deadline. And like, no, yes, now like everyone is like buzzing
yeah.
about this AI. I'm like, come on, folks, like, tell me one good like AI tool that can actually replace a person. There is no such thing.
Mm,
But I really want to just get rid of that and like keep growing my
mm,
influence, because that's very important. But then with this influence, I want to really impact like the whole industry. And that's the end goal, not to be
mm.
famous, not to be, it's great
Yeah.
to be a LinkedIn top voice. It helps, of course.
Hmm.
But I think the main point for me is that I really want to leave a legacy of better processes of humanized recruitment, because recruitment
Mm,
is an excellent job. But I feel just because how it's been, no one likes to be a recruiter. No one likes recruiters. No one knows how to be recruited, and that
mm.
must change.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. There is recruiters especially get a very bad rep. I think
Yeah.
amongst especially folk who obviously who are looking for work, and there's always that I don't know if or if there is a recruiter calling you, so there's always that kind of animosity, and I don't think there should be because obviously they're trying to help you get a job. It's their job as well to do that, but there shouldn't be this animosity and like to have you on the podcast as well and to follow the advice and like you say the very authentic advice that you do share and the tips that you give to people who are looking for work. You can see that it's genuine and you're not in it for yourself. You're not in it to just make a living and this is just a way to do that. It's something that really means a lot to you. So and that comes across. So if that was your goal, then you succeeded.
Thank you. I'm
um,
glad to hear that.
I wanted to just ask you a very simple question. What do you love most about what you do?
I love people most. It's just, sometimes, like, for example, now I'm visiting my parents.
Ah,
So, like, I'm in Belarus, let's put it this way, like, it's fire in the world. There's nothing exciting happening here. But literally, like, a couple of days ago, I spoke to a person who works in Google. And then, like, a couple of days ago, I spoke to a person who sits in San Francisco and works for Netflix. And, like, and they have these amazing careers, like, big names. And
mhm,
it's just so inspiring. And it's not about the names of the companies, but just like these people have built products that like I use and millions
yeah.
of people use. And, they have passions and goals and like those purposes of like really
Mhm,
solving those problems. And I just think it's just so monumental as the job to like solve problems. Like I loved research for that as
mhm,
well. Like how passionate researchers are that
mhm,
everyone thinks that they making like the business slower. No one wants to listen
mhm,
to them. It's such a complicated job. Like it's so
mhm.
hard to be a good researcher. Wow. Fine. Now the tools are coming in, but like synthesizing 20 interviews, I'm sorry. This is like it's a proper
It's
effort.
not easy.
But how? Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know better than I do for sure.
No, no. You did
But
it as
it's
well.
it's just so impactful and it's so
Mm,
powerful. And I love listening to these stories. And I think like people are my main motivators. And like, yes,
yeah.
even by writing my posts, sometimes someone reaches out and says, oh, like your advice changed my life. I mean, how insane is that? Like, that I
That's cool.
posted something online
Mm,
and that impacted them in like the positive way. So it just, it's very inspiring. And I love having that. And this is like this aha moment for me because recruitment is an ugly business. You're always
Mm.
thinking about it. Like, it never stops. You don't
Mm.
have days off. You cannot just go off the grid when the candidate is
Yeah,
deciding
that's
whether or
true.
not they're going to take a role. And
Yeah.
I'm the one person business, there's no one to, and even when I wasn't, it's still like, it's impossible to leave it. It's also about people, like if
Mm.
someone woke up and kind of, got off the wrong foot of the bed, that's it. My deal is over, like it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
Internet hate is a real thing. And I kind of,
Mm.
the bigger I get, the more of it I get as well. And it's disappointing, but those
Mm.
moments really get me going. And yeah,
Yeah.
people, being connected to people all around the world, like
Yeah.
as if like there are no boundaries, like the opportunities are limitless. Like it makes me feel very empowered and powerful
Yeah.
as well.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing that. Now I wanted to move into obviously the company that you set up. But the name is kuঃl, right?
Cool.
Cool. Okay. Sorry, the German there.
No, no,
I
no.
forgot my
Yeah.
German. So
No, not at
cool.
all.
Okay. Oh, like cool as well. Maybe I don't know if that was what it was supposed to sound like, but so cool. I know that you offer a course for, I guess, for people who are looking to set up their careers or looking for a role. Could you kind of expand on that, go into a bit more detail in what this course offers, and I guess eventually how people can find this course, how they can join it.
Yeah, for sure. So this course is just it's basically like a baby of all the years of experience that I had as a recruiter because Maven
Mm,
reached out to me last year and they were like, listen, there are so many people struggling to get a job, especially I mean, obviously in design and research because that's my kind of field and bread and
mm,
butter. And I started to build the course. And like what I was and still am seeing on the market that lots of people kind of make those fragmented courses. How to build
mm,
the best portfolio, or like how to build the best CV, or like mock interviews. But your success is not just one part of the product and of the process. And as I was building this course, I knew in advance that it is going to be a lot of information. It might feel overwhelming. Not everyone is gonna love every part of it because, for example, pitching yourself in front of others, yeah, that's uncomfortable. Let's
mm.
put it this way. And I understand there are different types of people. But I also wanted to keep this course as realistic and close to like a real market need as possible
Mhm.
and just really show what like the level of expertise that is required to not only get the job like in the best company, but like really secure you any role
Mm,
wherever you're going at whatever seniority. So I'm basically offering it to absolutely anyone. You can be a graduate, you can be a career changer, you can be a senior, you can be a design leader. You will find a lot of useful information because this course is not built by a designer who
mm.
was a part of the processes. Like I've led all my processes and I built it from like a very insider perspective. And I thought it was like so important to educate everyone
Mm,
how recruitment works while I'm teaching them how to get jobs. And that's exactly basically like, the narrative of the course. And so we start with the basics. I mean, major basics, let's put it
mm.
this way, CV, portfolio,
Yeah.
speech. I speak about networking because lots of people say, "Oh, I got ghosted. I applied, never heard back." Yeah, that's the reality of the market, and that's why we have to start networking right now.
Yeah.
So I'm insistent on it, and basically the course is very fast paced. It's only 2 weeks. I keep on receiving feedback that it's a little bit too tight, but I keep it this way on purpose. It's almost like, I feel that prepping for the process should be like a sprint, because
Mm,
like the longer you stay in this mode of prepping, the more this perfectionist, crawls to you and you're like, oh,
yeah.
maybe I also should change this and that. But like recruitment process, application process is the same as any other process of building a product. You
Mm,
have to ship something,
yeah.
get feedback, iterate, and test again.
Yeah.
And that's what I believe. And like, this is the mindset that I'm trying to adopt with all my students, that like, you ship the first version, I give you feedback, and it's like an experienced eye feedback. I'm
Mm.
being very, very picky. And I always say, like, I know it feels tough because yes, no one likes to be criticized, and I'm trying to be as kind, but I'm also, you can tell, like, I'm very direct. I speak loud sometimes. I cannot help it. But I always, like, I mean from the best
Absolutely.
position. And then afterwards, I just really encourage everyone to go ahead and start working with it. And there's
Mm.
a lot of strategy that no one is talking about, because everyone's like, okay, now your portfolio is ready, go and apply. No, like, I don't say that. I say
Mm.
no, like, identify top companies,
Yeah.
like, prioritize them, come up with the competency list that they have,
Mm.
incorporate it in all the application assets, and then
Mm.
find the right people and go ahead and network. And I'm going to be with you step by step,
Mm.
enabling you to be more successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really changing the game for so many students
Mm.
who are following, because honestly, I've had dozens of people who would come back to me and be like, I can't believe that, but I did sign the contract. And I'm
Mm.
like, I can, that makes total sense. That's why. So, and it's been a very, very cool experience. However,
Mm.
at the moment as well, I'm trying to understand how I can scale it, because,
Okay.
2 weeks, 10, 15 students is not, that's not what the world needs.
Mm.
The course is quite heavy in terms of like my time investment. So like, I've recorded the whole thing, and it's like several hours of recording, but also
Wow.
there are 4 homeworks that I have to check for everyone.
Mm.
So this year is going to be very, very exciting, because I am working on launching this, like, you can call it whatever. It's like an academy or a school, like,
Okay.
it can be anything, but it's gonna be
College.
like very, yeah, exactly, but it's gonna be a low budget,
Mm.
topic driven, like, workshops and sessions, and like, the Q&As,
Mm.
and things like that, because I want to make sure that, like, regardless of your position on the market, you can pay for a topic. And if you still want a course, there is a self-paced course, and then afterwards community event. So I really want
Okay.
to, first of all, get to know more people,
Mm.
who like struggle and understand, because the closer to the market you stay, the better you can serve the market. And like,
Absolutely.
I am a big believer, like this amazing guy, the founder of June, yesterday posted on LinkedIn that he's back on customer support calls. And I'm like, that's right. Like, you have to stay close to the problem and to the
Absolutely.
customers. And like, that's what I want to do as well. And really make sure that everyone can benefit from what I've learned, because there is no point of holding this
Mm.
knowledge back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's awesome. And thanks for giving us an insight into this new
Yeah.
academy or whatever's that's gonna be set up. That's really cool. Is there a date for when that's gonna be starting, or is that secret?
Yeah. It's not a secret now. So I'm gonna be launching it in June.
Okay.
And basically I'm gonna double down very heavily June, July, August on those
Okay.
events. But there will be the pilots. So I will obviously
Okay.
want to kind of, pilot it with a couple of people and understand, like, what can be improved, how we can make it like more scalable.
Mm.
So the announcement will be coming out this week for the very
Oh, wow.
first pilot event.
Great.
And then afterwards, I'm gonna run more of those fully free pilots, just kind of, with potential users to get an understanding how we can be working better with this. So yeah, stay tuned.
Exciting, exciting. I'll keep an eye out for that pilot announcement. That's
Sounds
cool.
excellent.
In terms of the course as well, how does somebody sign up for that? Is there a website, or do they reach out to you directly? How if they're interested in listening to this podcast, how can they sign up for that course?
Yeah, that's a great question. So basically, I've opened up one of the cohorts for June already. I mean, it's
Okay.
just March, so June is quite far along.
Hmm.
So the best way is to go and just purchase a seat.
Okay.
It is limited, as I
Sure.
said, because I want to make sure that I, split my time in a way that I can give you almost like a one-on-one,
Absolutely.
quality of my attention. But those who are in the rush, on my LinkedIn, you can also follow the link and book a one-on-one session. And I'm offering kind of like a package of a long-term advising
Mm.
package. So
Okay.
it's been It's been very, very helpful. Most of the clients that like get that, we just work together on the same topics, but more one-on-one. And then there is no way I'm not going to be suggesting roles or kind of like making introductions if I see a lot of potential in the person. So it's been really useful, and one of the clients actually recently signed a contract with my business client. So it was just a really win-win situation, the easiest recruitment process I think I've ever led, because
Wow.
yeah, a person was amazing and then they fit the role. I saw the work, and it just made sense. So anyone who's interested in like the immediate help, there are slots as well available, but the course is definitely kicking off in June. And as I'm prepping for the academy, school, college, whatever we want to call it, the course will also be getting upgraded and getting more relevant information, more examples. I want to make sure that like the course is like really you just get it and it's all you ever needed to know to be successful.
Awesome, awesome. That sounds really exciting. Thanks for breaking that down. And also thanks for coming on the podcast today. It's been a huge privilege for me to get to know you better. Also hear about how you got into recruiting and how you set up kuঃl. Hope I pronounced it correctly. Yeah, it's been great. And I'm sure for our listeners, because as we've mentioned many times today, that it is difficult out there and people are feeling low, they're feeling battered and bruised from the job search. So I hope this has given them an insight from the recruiter side and given them that inspiration to continue, and hopefully as well that they can have a look at your course and maybe that can be something that can help them in the future in getting a role. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Finger crossed. And thank you so much for having me, Dale. It's been amazing. Really enjoyed it.
I think it's been more amazing for me. So thank you.